What's up, guys? Another episode of Off the Schneid here. First and foremost, I want to give a shout out to everybody for their kind words, the subscriptions, likes, shares, everything that's given this channel some momentum. So if you're here for the first time, you like what you hear, smash that subscribe button, give it a like, share with your friends, anything to keep the momentum going for Off the Schneid here. Today's show, we're going to be talking about the first round of the NFL draft. Super exciting day. It wasn't a dream. We got the second and third round today. Couldn't be more excited, but we're going to break down picks 1 through 32, how I was right, wrong, everything like that. So let's jump right into it. First overall selection, Joe Burrow to the Cincinnati Bengals. So this was probably one of the worst kept secrets in football. Usually the first and second overall picks are, but no surprise, Joe Burrow to the Bengals. Again, what remains to be seen is what happens with Andy Dalton here. I would like to see the Bengals do the right thing by Andy Dalton. If they can get a fourth, fifth, even sixth round pick to trade him to a team like the Patriots or anywhere that he could have a chance to be the guy, be the starting quarterback, I would love to see that. He's a great person, great player still. He did a lot of good things for the Bengals. I think he can start in this league still, so I hope that the Bengals do the right thing by Andy Dalton. But the most likely scenario is going to be he is a cap casualty that gets cut somewhere over the summer maybe, and then gets picked up maybe in training camp or again over the summer if we see an injury or something like that and a team needs a quarterback. So either way, I just really hope that Andy Dalton gets a shot to be a quarterback somewhere next year. We're probably going to have Joe Burrow, Ryan Finley be the starter and the backup here in Cincinnati. So we'll see what happens. I just hope that Andy Dalton gets a shot somewhere. Another pick that doesn't really surprise anyone, Chase Young, number 2 to the Redskins. I'm going to lay out the defensive line for the Redskins for you here. We got Daron Payne, Jonathan Allen, Ryan Kerrigan, Montez Sweat, Matt Adonis, and now Chase Young. That's a scary line for the Redskins. The defense is looking extremely good for the Redskins. Teams are gonna have a hard time scoring on the Redskins, except for the Cowboys probably now. But schedule-wise, they play the NFC West, the AFC North, the Panthers, and the Lions. Heading into the season, we got one rookie quarterback in that schedule, and that's my Bengals, Joe Burrow here. So not looking forward to that game, and I don't think teams are going to look forward to playing the Redskins. I think they're going to surprise some teams. They built on a strength. Their defense is going to be what carries them. So keep building on that defense. We'll see what happens here in day 2 for the Redskins. So this is where a lot of people had the draft kind of starting, including myself. I did have Jeff Okudah picked, and this is where he went. It's a great pick. It's kind of, like I said in my mock, the Patriot way to have that shutdown corner. Heading into day 2, it's going to be interesting. They do have their second round pick, third overall in the second round. I see them going defense again. They have Julian Okwara's brother, Romeo Okwara, already on the team. We could see that happening. I doubt it, but I go defense again if I'm the Lions. The way teams are scooping up corners, they could just grab a guy like Jalen Johnson. We'll see what happens, but I think defensive line or potentially corner for the Lions, but definitely sticking on defense. So it was a bit of a surprise to me that the pick was Andrew Thomas. I'm not surprised one bit it was a tackle. With this pick, it's got me wondering if there's a possibility of them moving Nate Solder to the right side and having Andrew Thomas start at left tackle. We'll see what happens. Usually the rookie starts on the right side, but we'll see what happens here. As far as the next pick for the Giants, I could see them if Lloyd Cushenberry is still there for them. I could see them pulling the trigger there and grabbing who I think is potentially the number 1 center in the draft, and then just shores up their offensive line heading into the season with the amount of money they spent in the offseason on that defense. And considering the coaches, Jason Garrett and Mark Colombo that just came in, offensive line type guys, I see them shoring up the offensive line, probably going center, Matt Hennessy or Lloyd Cushenberry, someone like that to finish up the line for the Giants. In the lead up to the draft, we had quite a bit of talk about Justin Herbert being the pick here, but for me, it was always going to be Tua. I was pretty confident that neither team needed to move up to get their quarterback. You could just kind of stand and wait for him to fall to you, which obviously they both did. With Tua, you get the luxury of potentially being able to wait a couple games and see where his health's at. With Ryan Fitzpatrick, he can start a couple games for you. Same with the Chargers, we'll talk about in a minute. But They shored up their offensive line a little later in the draft, which we'll talk about again as well. But for me, the pick was always Tua here, and I really didn't think that they had to move up to get him. So at number 5, the Dolphins sat and wait, and there he is sitting for him. So number 5, Tua Tagovailoa. Another team got the quarterback they wanted at the pick that they had. They didn't have to move up, and I don't think the Dolphins or the Chargers felt the need to move up and use up some assets to get those quarterbacks that they wanted. They both chose to just stay where they were, and they got the guys they wanted. I feel like they were maybe just daring teams. If you want to use your assets and get ahead of us to take one of these guys, we'll just see what happens and take the best available player when we get there. So they both got the quarterback that they wanted. For me, the more likely candidate to start week 1 is going to be Justin Herbert, just because Tua's health, we're not really sure there. And Ryan Fitzpatrick is a more capable starter in the NFL than Tyrod Taylor, in my opinion. They don't have a second round pick, the Chargers, so we'll see what happens. But with the first round, I think they're already getting a pretty good draft grade for me anyways. I can't say I was shocked with this pick, but I was definitely surprised that the Panthers passed up on a local guy and a guy that can do anything on that defense. Nothing wrong with Derek Brown pick. He's a solid player, and he's going to be great for that team. But I just was very surprised that they passed up on a local talent who's a top 5 prospect in this draft. They do have their second round pick coming up here, and for me, it's got to be corner. Jalen Johnson or Cam Dantzler or something like that, or potentially offensive line. To me, it's either one of those two, and there's no other pick. But great pick. Derek Brown's going to be great for that defense. In my mock, I had a trade happening here with the Raiders moving up to grab CeeDee Lamb. Obviously, I was wrong about him being the first wide receiver taken, but you take your shots. I think the Cards took about 2 seconds to turn in this pick. Isaiah Simmons is a top 5 talent in my opinion, and I think Vance Joseph is going to have a heyday with this guy. He completes that defense and what's going to be, to me, a very good defense. The Cards don't have a second round pick today, but moving forward in the draft, they're going to have to grab a tackle to play on the right side, and tight end is going to be another need for the Cardinals moving forward in this draft. As the draft got closer, CJ Henderson name was he was definitely a riser moving up. He's a local guy, so it's not a surprise pick. It was maybe the biggest need on that defense. To be honest, I don't know what all the hate about the Jags is. I think they're going to surprise a lot of teams. I think they got a very good team. If they had Ngakoue staying and Fournette, I really like their roster, to be honest with you. I think the relationship with Fournette is still, it can be mended. I think it's okay. Ngakoue is gone. It's just a matter of where and for what compensation. But in the second round, I mean, you can never have too many offensive linemen. That's definitely a spot that they can go with. Corner as well as another need, even still with the way teams are scooping up corners right now. So we'll see what happens. But I really like the Jags moving forward. I think there's a lot to like on that roster. Here's another pick that doesn't really surprise anyone. It was always going to be a tackle. For me, it should have been Tristan Wirfs. He's my number 1 tackle in this year's draft. But Jedrick Wills is what I had was the first drafted tackle. So it's a good pick. I still maintain, and maybe even more now, that Jack Conklin is the guy that moves over to the left side, and Jedrick Wills continues to play right tackle. He played left tackle in college, and the only reason he was on the left side in Tennessee was because of Taylor Lewan there. So this move completes the offensive line for the Browns and the offense in general, to be honest with you. In the second round here, they got a couple needs, biggest needs being linebacker and safety for me. But the Browns are just completely out of excuses. There's absolutely no reason to not be a winning team this year. If they don't, it's pretty much all on Baker Mayfield. So we'll see what happens, but this is a big year for the Browns in 2020. For me, these were the only 2 options for the Jets in the first round here, wide receiver or offensive line, and they went the other way. Becton's a great pick. He's a bit of a project in my opinion, and you got to watch his weight. But he should start right away. It makes the team better. Lev Bell's going to love it. And the pick really sends a message to Brashad Perriman and potentially Quincy Enunwa that you're going to be playing a prominent role in this offense moving forward. But in the second round, cornerback is going to be a massive need for the Jets, and I see them addressing that. Or potentially the other biggest need is going to be on that defensive line and to add a pass rusher. I know they're thinking about Chase on, so they're definitely going to need a pass rusher as well as a cornerback to help them out on defense. This was the other side of the trade that I had the Raiders making. They didn't end up making a trade. Maybe that was because the Cardinals just had Simmons fall in their lap, but they stayed at 12 here and surprised me. They had CeeDee Lamb was there. That's who I thought they really liked. But now that I'm looking back on it, I'm not shocked. Not because of the whole Al Davis speed thing with Ruggs, but he's going to be great for that team. He's going to stretch the field, open it up for Hunter Renfrow in the slot, who I think is going to have a really good year this season, and Terrell Williams on the other side. There's a lot to. I love the Raiders roster this year. I think it's extremely complete. There's not a ton of needs. They don't have a second round pick, but they do have 3 picks in an 11 selection span in the 3rd round. They could look offensive line. Richie Incognito may or may not be back. I don't think they re-signed him yet, and he's pretty old anyway. So they might look to shore up the offensive line, and you can never have too many offensive linemen. But there's a ton to like about the Raiders heading into this season. So there was a trade here. Originally the 49ers were picking. I had them picking Justin Jefferson, but the Bucs just saw Tristan Wirfs slide way further than he should have. So they move up one spot and grab an absolute slam dunk to put on that offensive line. And I think it couldn't be a more perfect fit. And it's just a great pick for the Buccaneers. Moving into the 2nd round, I think you stay on the offensive line. You pick another offensive lineman, interior guard most likely. The number one priority is protecting Tom Brady and giving him enough time to utilize those weapons that he has there. There's another need in running back, I guess, but you can wait. And I don't think it's as big of a need as people think, but you can wait to get that. I think you shore up the offensive line, get an interior lineman, and give Tom Brady as much protection as you can get. So I made a mistake when creating this. Obviously, the picks should be flip-flop there. I originally had Andrew Thomas here going to the Bucs, and Javon Kinlaw was the pick by the 49ers. So flip those around for me. But the 49ers picked Javon Kinlaw here. They trade DeForest Buckner and they replace him with Kinlaw. It's a cap move. Great move. It was a solid pick, and the 49ers continue to have a very, very, very good defense. I didn't have Henry Ruggs being the first wide receiver off the board, so I had him going to the Broncos here. To be honest, even though it's the same position, obviously, I don't love the fit with Jerry Jeudy in Denver. I don't think that's going to be good for Jeudy or the Broncos. I don't love the fit. So we'll see what happens. I could be completely wrong, but I don't personally love the fit with Jerry Jeudy in Denver. Moving forward into the 2nd round, there's not a ton of holes on that Denver team. For me, I look at them and see a big hole at corner. So I see them addressing that, or potentially offensive line. So offensive line or corner for the Broncos moving forward in the draft. For me, the pick was always going to be corner for the Falcons, and they didn't disappoint. So they grabbed AJ Terrell instead of CJ Henderson, who's already off the board. But moving on to the 2nd round, I see the Falcons continuing to help out that defense. I think their offense is okay, investing the picks they did in offensive line last year. I think they're fine on offense. So you continue to build the defense. And to be honest, they could just grab another corner in the 2nd round. It's still a big need. But defensive line would be the only other spot that I would look, a big nose tackle or another defensive end in a 3-4 defense. So, yeah, I like the Falcons to keep building out that defense. This was maybe the biggest shocker of the 1st round, not the pick, but that CeeDee Lamb fell to 17. I did not see that being a possibility for the Cowboys, but when it got there, I was not shocked one bit that CeeDee Lamb went to them boys. So that offense is complete. They need nothing. They're a top 5 offense last year, and they're only getting better. They could look to add a lineman later in the draft. I don't think that that's where they go for the next couple rounds. I think they got to help out that defense. Personally, I think they need a pass rusher and maybe a cornerback. I see a lot of holes on that defense, and I see them addressing that. They're a Super Bowl caliber offense, so as long as their defense can keep them in games, then they're going to have a good chance to compete for the Super Bowl this year. So to me, the Cowboys, they address defense with the next few picks. This is a pretty solid pick in my opinion. I don't mind the pick at all in Austin Jackson. It's definitely a need. Xavier McKinney, I cannot believe is still on the board, and I think he's a pretty good candidate to maybe go to my Bengals with pick 33. We'll see what happens. But moving forward, there's a lot to like with the Dolphins team, in my opinion, especially that defense. The only hole on defense is at safety, which is why I had Xavier McKinney going here. They've got 2 second-round picks and 3 total picks today. I see them addressing offense here. You're going to need another weapon at wide receiver, I believe, as well as running back, and continue to fill up that offensive line. So there's a lot to like in what the Dolphins are doing moving forward. I originally had a kind of outside the box, a little bit of crazy trade with the Colts trading their 2 second-round picks, moving up to 19 to grab Jordan Love here. But for the second year in a row, the Raiders trade none of their first-round picks and just select where they are. The selection, the position wasn't a surprise at all, but the player was definitely a surprise to pretty much everybody. They go with Damon Arnett from Ohio State here. I'm not going to doubt anything Mike Mayock does until I'm proven wrong, until I see a bust somewhere or something go wrong for him. So I give it an A+ as of right now. So it's a position of need, and they filled it. There's a ton to like on that Raiders offense. So I really like the Raiders, and they're a huge sleeper to win that division, in my opinion. I originally had Kayvon Chase on dropping quite a bit, and I think I had him out of my first round originally in my original mock. I did put him in a trade up for the Ravens later, but this pretty much spells the end for Yannick Ngakoue in Jacksonville. He wants out. It's just a matter of what they're going to get for him, in my opinion. And then I think Kayvon Chason just fills that role there. Again, moving forward, I think they continue to build that defense, and I still think that there's a ton to like about the Jacksonville Jaguars moving forward. I originally had a trade up from the Ravens to grab Chase on here, but the Eagles chose to stay at 21 and pick Jalen Reagor from TCU. Personally, I hate the pick. I really do. I would have went with Justin Jefferson, Denzel Mims, and potentially Brandon Ayuk ahead of Jalen Reagor. But I think there's going to be more Eagles fans that are upset than cheering in the streets. I could be completely wrong, and we'll see what happens, but I think there was better options at wide receiver for the Eagles here. I had Javon Kinlaw going here originally just because I had him slipping, and this was way too far for him to go. So I had the Vikings just picking a need and a guy that slipped way too far. In my opinion, Justin Jefferson slipped way too far, and this is a great pick for the Vikings, who had a really good day yesterday, in my opinion. So they grab a need, but it's a strange kind of fit. The way I see it, they've got a bunch of slot receivers in Minnesota, so I don't know what they're going to do. They're going to obviously move somebody to the outside, whether that's Jefferson or Thielen or even both. They have Tajay Sharp and Chad Beebe there as well. I still see the Vikings regressing a fair bit this season. There's still tons of holes on that defense, which is where I see them targeting in the coming rounds. So we'll see, but I think it's a good fit, and I really like Justin Jefferson. He's one of my favorite wide receivers. And again, the Vikings just had a really good day yesterday, and a solid draft grade coming their way for me. This was a bit of a surprise trade out for me from the Patriots trading with the Chargers here. They're stockpiling day 2 picks. They've got a second round pick and then 4 third round picks. So like I said in my mock, the Patriots are the biggest wild card in this entire draft for me. They could do a ton of different things today, and I think we're going to see them make some moves. So in my opinion, we're going to see a name like Jalen Hurts, Jake Fromm, Jacob Eason, James Morgan, someone like that. I feel like is going to be a target for the Patriots, and it seems like they're just taking advantage of the depth of this draft class. So it's an interesting trade, but the Chargers get a phenomenal player and a phenomenal fit and just makes that defense so much better. I absolutely love the pick for the Chargers here. And they had, again, they're one of the biggest winners of the day. They had a great day one. This was a bit of a surprise pick for me. I think the Saints already have one of the better offensive lines in the league, but obviously they didn't feel extremely comfortable. And he's a great player, and he's going to make that offensive line that much better. I still see linebacker being a need for the Saints. They only have one pick today as of now, and it's a third round selection. So to me, again, I see them going to defense, especially after obviously picking Ruiz here. So linebacker, maybe corner. I see them definitely addressing the defense with their single pick in the third round here. I had the Vikings staying put at 25 here, but the 49ers obviously like Brandon Ayuk enough to move up to 25 to grab him here. The Niners just had they had a great draft as well. They fill up a need with the slot receiver here who had more yak yards than Henry Ruggs, I believe, which is pretty impressive. Fills a need. Great pick. They're a complete roster, favorites to win in the Super Bowl. And they're going to have a very quiet day too here. They have no picks in the second or third round unless they trade up, but I really don't see that happening. They just had a good first day, and they're just going to sit and make their picks in the following. This was absolutely my most hated pick in the entire round. I absolutely despise this pick. I think it's horrible. I can't imagine that it was a Matt LaFleur pick, especially trading up to grab a quarterback that might sit like Aaron Rodgers did for 3 years. In my opinion, Aaron Rodgers is a better quarterback than Brett Favre. If you want to have that argument, then be my guest. But in my opinion, you have needs on your roster, and you're a playoff team, contenders for the Super Bowl. In what world do you pick your quarterback of the future here? I absolutely despise this pick. They have a pick in the second and the third, and hopefully they can shore up some of the holes that they do have. But I can't say enough how much I absolutely hate this pick for the Packers. I personally really like this pick for the Seahawks. In my original mock, I had them picking a linebacker as well, and then I switched it to defensive end once it looked like Clowney wasn't going to be coming back. But I love the pick. I think he's a 3-down linebacker. I think he's the future leader of that defense. It's a great fit. They got 2 late second round picks and a third round pick. So I see them going offensive line. I think you really need to try to finally get Russell Wilson some decent offensive linemen to help him, give him a little more time. He's great throwing off the run, but you can never have too many offensive linemen, and they're a Super Bowl caliber team. So I see them addressing offensive line in the coming rounds here. This was the back end of the Philly trade. I had the Eagles taking Denzel Mims here, but the Ravens stay where they're at 28 and get an absolute gem in Patrick Queen. I had him going 30th, so I had a feeling he would slip a little bit, but this is a perfect fit for Patrick Queen here in Baltimore. I think Baltimore is just a fantastic team, and they're very, very good candidates to win the Super Bowl this year. Moving forward, they've got 2 late seconds and 2 late thirds. So if they see a guy that's available and a trade is there to move up, I think that we could see that happen. Safety is a reasonable need. Chuck Clark could be replaced. Another pass rusher could definitely fit there. But interior line for me is a big time need. They could use some help at guard, and I see them definitely shoring that up, as well as probably grabbing a wide receiver at some point today. These were literally the two positions I saw them picking. Obviously, they lost Jack Conklin in free agency, so you need a right tackle to play with Taylor Lewan. Their run-first team, it makes tons of sense. It's a great pick. He plays on the right side. It's just a great pick, great fit, everything. And then the second and third round picks that the Titans have, I definitely see them addressing that defensive line. Obviously, I had them picking Justin Madibuki. If he's still there, I think it's a great fit, and they should definitely target him. But that's where I see them going in the second and third round here. I don't want to take too much time talking about the Dolphins again for the third time. I think they had a pretty good draft. They traded down to add another. It was a surprise pick with the signing of Byron Jones to pair with Xavier Howard there. I really like what they have on defense, but the Dolphins go out and grab Noah Igbenogany and just complete that defense. It's fine. I think they could add a safety in the second or third round here, but I definitely see them going with offensive line and helping out Tua. Austin Jackson likely to move to the right side to protect Tua's blind side. They got Julian Davenport to play the left side there, but they're going to need interior linemen in my opinion. The Vikings slid back with their second first-round pick and grabbed the biggest need on that roster at corner. They lost their 3 starting corners in the offseason, so they absolutely had to pick one in the first round. I personally thought they liked Jalen Johnson more than Jeff Gladney, but either way, it's a great pick, and they're going to plug and play him right away. Moving forward, they definitely could address another corner. It's definitely still a huge need on that team, as well as defensive line, so we'll see what happens, but the Vikings had a really good day one. Little bit of a surprise pick, not particularly to me. This just completes that Chiefs offense, and they're going to be absolutely ridiculous this year on offense. I think Edwards-Helaire is probably going to be my number one pick in my rookie mock draft that I put together. He's a great fit. Everything that he can do, he's just a phenomenal fit in that offense with Andy Reid. Moving forward, they have their second and third round picks, and there's a desperate need at center and left guard for the Chiefs. They could definitely go defense like I had in my mock. The corner's definitely in need, but you might as well just build off of strength and take some interior linemen to help out Patrick. Thanks for tuning in, guys. If you haven't already, smash that like and subscribe button. Get this channel some momentum. We got live sports for another couple days. Round 2 and 3 of the NFL draft coming up today. My Bengals have the first overall pick, so I'm pretty excited. I'm looking at Josh Jones or Xavier McKinney are my only 2 happy picks, so we'll see what happens. But appreciate you tuning in, and we'll see you next time.